Welcome to the Dalen Show. Hello, world. It is so good to see you all. I cannot express my gratitude to be a part of your lives, have my face or my voice blessed you throughout your lives. It means a lot for your continued joy and support. Can you believe it that we are officially on episode number 10 of season 4? We are halfway through this 4-year dream journey and manifestation, I would say. And it's been such an honor to do it and be a part of it with you guys. I cannot express this is not possible without you guys. And so thank you for supporting me in my dream. And also thank the 9 guests that I've had prior to being a part of this journey. And let's show our appreciation for guest number 10. And let's welcome her with open arms, Miss Tiffany Coleman-McGee.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Before I get started, how are you doing? How is everything in your world currently going right now?
I am well. All is well. God is good. Things are rolling. Stay busy. Inspiring and uplifting others, and just walking in my God-given talents and purpose.
Yes, ma'am. I love that already. Miss Tiffany, if you don't mind, I know you do so much in your life, but I love for my guests to, before we kind of get things going, to give the listeners and viewers a quick introduction about themselves. So maybe just where you're from, just a few maybe important things you've been able to do in your lifetime to get you where you are today, so people can get comfortable with you.
Okay. My name is Dr. Tiffany Coleman. Tiffany Coleman-McGee is what most people know me by. I am a native and resident of Jackson, Mississippi. Yay, Magnolia State. And I am an author. I've written and published 3 books, 2 of them children's books and 1 manifestation journal. We'll talk about that a little bit later, I suppose. I'm also an actress. I've been featured on television series, a couple movies. I have an upcoming independent film that will be released pretty soon where I have the lead role. So we're excited about that. It's a faith-based film. I am also a music artist, and we'll talk about that. As you can see, some of the accolades in the background there. And radio host. I have a show on God's House of Hip Hop, which is based in Los Angeles, California, and it's called CHH Ladies Night with Miss Tiffany, where I and myself and MC Nice have curated a show that plays Christian hip hop female artists on the show, and just doing, lots of great things. I model here and there every now and then. I also host events and do some motivational speaking here and there as well.
I'm glad that you honestly led with this, that you're an author and you've written 2 kids' book and a manifestation book as well. I'm a huge reader. I'm aspiring to be a journalist. And looking through some of your work and past interviews, you have vividly talked about a lot, just your passion to improve children's literacy, and specifically in the state of Mississippi as well. Talk about why that's so important for you and what has writing, reading meant to your life and helped shape you into the person that you are today.
Well, I'm so glad that you asked, because many people don't know in my academic profession outside of entertainment, I am a librarian, or what some would call a library media specialist. I am also a licensed educator, so licensed in 5 subject areas, including library media. I've always been an avid reader, Dalen, since I was a kid. People would see me and they would always say, every time I see you, you have something you're reading in your hand. You always have a book in your hand, or I'm reading a newspaper, or, some sort of magazine. I was always reading. I just love to escape, through the text. And so it was a love of mine. It still is. When I was 7, my first grade teacher had us to do an activity where we created our own book. And her expression after I completed my work and took it to her desk, I think planted a seed. Well, I know planted a seed because she just made me feel so good about the work that I had done. And my book was just so great. And it was just literally, a little chicken scratch and a couple of pictures, illustrations that I had drawn. And I walked away from her desk that day saying that I wanted to write children's books. And so over the years, and of course we all know that reading is the foundation to education. And reading is fundamental, is important. Early childhood literacy is very important. Children need to know how to communicate and how to read words and how to, express themselves through text, and how to interpret that, how to comprehend, how to understand, so that they can apply the information and utilize it throughout our lifetime. And I think that of all subjects that we learn in school, that we assume or we've been told we will need later on in life, reading has been that one that is for sure you will use it later on in life. You may never use, a math theory, or you may never use a science theory, but you are going to need to know how to read. And so I know, and I tell children this all of the time, they're amazed at the work that I've done outside of the children's books, just the entertainment side, the television shows, when we talk about that. And I let them know that, it's important that you know how to read. You're going to have to be able to communicate with emails or through text, or you have to be able to read deals and contracts, or, at least get them to the appropriate people. And then when scripts come your way, or if you're writing music or reading music or what have you, that literacy piece is going to be important in order for you to be effective. I think some people can get by. I've heard some things about some genius music artists who had problems with literacy and were illiterate and did not know how to read, but they could play music, they could write music, they could, get in and record and engineer that music, and they had that gift. So I think, different people have their own, areas where they have strengths, and we're able to, be intelligent in many different ways. And reading just so happens to be one of my strong points. And so I'm always driving and pushing it out to others, especially children.
Thank you. Because, like I said, I'm aspiring to be a journalist. I love to read. One of my professors told me this semester, kind of the same thing that you said, that I always have a book in my hand. That's just because I love to read, and I grew up in that environment. And I think that it's something that, unfortunately, is kind of being lost within today's generation. And so that I love that there are still people trying to advocate for it. So thank you for sharing that. Talk about growing up in Jackson, Mississippi. I know that a lot of people, like where my hometown, Little Rock, Arkansas, have this conception about what a town is and maybe have never even stepped foot in it. But talk about growing up in Jackson, Mississippi for you. What was your childhood like, and how much love do you have for the city of Jackson?
It was beautiful. It wasn't always perfect. Of course, we have our trials and our challenges, our dysfunctions, and we have to learn to function within that, within those factors. But it's been beautiful growing up here in Jackson, and there are some gems in Jackson. It's a city with soul, the city of soul. And of course, we have those traditions tied to music and to great food and hospitality here in, Mississippi, and of course throughout certain towns. And I believe Jackson is one of those hospitable places. If people visit, give it a chance, they'll see that it's not all what they perceived or what they may have read or have heard or, been allowed to see through media or other forms of interpretation. Childhood was great here. I attended some great schools, and had some great teachers, great educators. Things have evolved. Things have changed, of course, with the times. And I believe that Jackson is not the only place who experiencing the evolution of these changes. And we just have to kind of roll with the punches. Everything is, not perfect here now. Things have definitely changed. But that, like I said, is everywhere. But it's been a beautiful experience. And I think that, sometimes in places where there may not be as much progression or resources, it tends to sharpen the individual to become more creative, more innovative. So we have to create opportunities and activities, that we love and that we're interested in and that others may be interested in, and kind of build those markets around, some of our interests. And I think that we've done a great job, and that we're still doing a great job. And we are definitely working on improvements and developments and growing Jackson, and, bringing more businesses in so that the economy will do a whole lot better. We have some cleaning up to do, and we're working on it. And not, like I said, a perfect place, but it's one of the, I think, most well-kept secrets in the world, I would say. And people have had great experiences here, and I think it has a whole lot to do with the social side. Meeting folks who are just genuine, who are down to earth, who show, great humility and are so welcoming to strangers or visitors or family members traveling from near, far, friends, business people coming in. I think can leave in Jackson, and whether they transported here by airplane or, by a car, vehicle, bus, or whatever the case may be, train, and they leave here with something, something special, and they could share that experience. And so I say the same, that I've had a great experience here. I've wanted to sometimes venture off, and maybe move to other places. But one of the things that I said that I wanted to do when I started my entertainment career was to prove that you can be successful and be from Jackson, Mississippi, and still live in Jackson, Mississippi. And you don't have to follow the brain drain train and, and just hop off, to the next interstate and head on out of Jackson. So, I don't want to be too long-winded, but overall, great experience. I think that I turned out pretty good and well-rounded, great citizen, and, still working on it and pushing towards some work.
You kind of talking about these things. For those that don't know, Miss Tiffany has just devoted her life to a lot of different things, but one of them, I would say more important things, has been her volunteering community service, not even just in Jackson, but around the entire country. Talk about why it's so important for you to give back, to help out within, not just, again, like Jackson, but around the entire country. Why is that so important for you to not just be selfish and do things for you, but also to give back and help out maybe those in need or just a town in need in general?
Well, it's important for me because I know at some point, growing up and parents being young, we had resources that we had access to, and it helped us out, helped to bridge us over and, close those gaps so that we could live a better life, a better quality of life. And, I shadowed my grandmother a whole lot, and she helped a lot of people, and she just had a heart of service, and she never met a stranger. And I'm the same way. And so I don't mind, putting my hand to the plow and working, and just all hands on deck and pitching in and where I can to help make things better for other people, and so whether it's helping to provide resources or, serving dinners to the homeless or, putting together care packs, I think is definitely important because people are in need. We have different sets of circumstances and experiences, places where we come from, and everybody's story is different, but they have one. And so if I'm able to lend a helping hand because I've had a helping hand before, then that's what it's all about, reciprocity. And I just do believe that you reap what you sow, and not that I'm doing it for, any specific benefit for myself, but I can say that, God will continue to bless the sower. He'll give seed to the sower. And so I truly believe in that. I live in that. And that has been my experience. And, so it's good to give back. And why not? Why not help out some people?
Yes, ma'am. To brag on you a little bit for people that may not know, you were awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award from Joe Biden's Foundation for your community and volunteer service. I know you don't do things for awards or acknowledgement, but how and what was that feeling like to be accepted for that award and get, I guess, noticed for what you do in your community?
Yeah, it felt really great. And for me, I think it really solidified life work because it was a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Yes,
And I feel like I'm still youthful and too. So
yes,
to
ma'am.
receive an award of at that level, of that magnitude, was definitely an honor coming from, from the Biden administration, from the White House, to be acknowledged in that way. It was definitely an honor. And so, people look at that and They may see it, some type of way as if, it's unattainable, but it is. As long as you put in the work, and, you continue to volunteer. For many years, I served as an AmeriCorps supervisor. AmeriCorps is a program a government program where, people come in, volunteer at different nonprofits or volunteer in the community, in or around different states around the nation, and go into communities to help set up projects and build initiatives to once again, give back and help provide those resources. So I've been doing a lot of work. I shadowed my mother in community service and, just kind of follow her footsteps with that. And we actually received that Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award together on the same day. So that was a great experience.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you talked about your grandmother a little bit, and I'm a big family person. My family's my backbone. I love them to death. Talk about your relationship with your mom, your grandmother, and anyone in your family that not only just help get you to where you are today, but have also reminded you in today's world that you have a shoulder to lean on, you have a body to hug and love on. What has your family meant to you?
Well, I'll start with my grandmother who passed away in January of 2013. We were like best friends, and I was her personal chauffeur and personal assistant and, caregiver and all of that. But she deserved it because she lived a hard life as well. Strong lady, like I said earlier, loved people, cared about people, compassionate, never met a stranger. And so who could not have a great relationship with someone like that, or be inspired by someone like that. And so, the things that she did gave me hope. It made me believe that, the circle of life is a real thing. And while she's not here with us physically, I still very much so feel her in my heart, her presence, in my work. You know what I mean? It's still an inspiration, the work that she did to me to this day. When I am out and doing things, like I learn from the best. Same thing with my mother. My mother lives right up the street from me in a different county. So I'm right on the cusp of, another county. But she is right there in Madison County and right up the street. And so we talk, just about every day or every other day. Still go out and have little girls' lunch or dinner here and there every now and then, or we may just visit at one another's house, the grandkids, here and there. Great relationship. I worked with her professionally for many years at a nonprofit that she helped to found. And, it's been a great ride with those two sisters right there. Other family members, let us not forget about them. My cousins, a lot of my older cousins, I'm gonna call them big cousins like we do, but my older cousins have always been inspirations to me as well. And I think they inspired me most when it came to the culture that, we listen to the same type of music and entertainment and things like that. And so I kind of always looked up to them for that, the way they dressed and everything, and was inspired in that way. And so they definitely continue to push me now, and whatever I do, they're always, sharing or commenting or, promoting by word of mouth, some form or fashion of, showing that encouragement and support. So definitely thankful for that. I know my dad is proud of me. He lives not far from me as well. And, I watched him work really, really hard, all of my life. He has this strong work ethic. I text him every couple months and ask him if he's going to retire and when is he going to retire. He will never respond. I just asked him 2 days ago, so are you going to plan to retire? No response. He responded to something else, but no response to the retirement question. I think he just doesn't want to give it up, and I'm like, hey, come on now. You've done well. Yeah.
That's awesome. For people that don't know, I don't know if I can do well pointing, but that pillow back there is myself and my great grandmother. And so that's why love sharing the wisdom of other people's family and their relationship with their grandmothers and specifically as well. So thank you for sharing that because I try not to get emotional, but I love to hear it because I had such a strong relationship with my grandmother as well. And so thank you for having enough courage to share that. I want to ask you as well, you talked about your family, now being married and being a mother as well. What has that meant to you? But maybe as well, what are some of the things that you learned from grandmother and mom and dad that have allowed you to prosper to being a great mother and wife?
Well, that's a loaded question. And without spilling out everybody's beans and business, I will say that marriage is a great institution. Um, that love piece, that unity, being one, being in agreement, walking together, being in alignment, with the word of God, figuring out the purpose for the unification of the two, to marry as one and working on that. It's not always perfect, you know what I mean? But I think love never fails. And
Yes, ma'am.
love will push you to continue to try and try again. And I will say that, for anyone who is listening, um, love is unconditional. And so I think that a lot of people kind of misconstrue the word unconditional when it comes to love, right? We're going to have to come back and do another segment or something on some love factors, but love is unconditional. God loves us unconditionally. He gives us grace. He gives us mercy. He shows us that on a daily basis. And, without that, I don't know what state we would be in and what type of condition we would be in. But no matter what condition we place ourselves in, his arms are always open, welcoming us to come back in, and to be in his presence. And if he can do that, God can do that. Who am I? I'm made in his image. Who am I to not be receptive of another person, even in their conditions, but to love them unconditionally, and not judge, And so I think that has been probably one of the threads that has, kept us strong. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't want to get into everybody else's business and things and spill him all over the place. But I've seen ups and I've seen downs and seen them come around the mountain again and go back again. But they're still here. They're still strong and still carrying on. And, for some people, things work and some they don't. And when you can acknowledge that and be mature enough to even walk away from a situation that may no longer be serving its purpose, if there's a division there or a separation there, then you just have to do what you have to do. Being a mother has been quite the honor. It's definitely I've been seeing people post lately after Mother's Day, it's a thankless job. So if you never get a happy Mother's Day or a gift or a card or a thank you for anything, it's something that you embarked upon and you have work to do. And we just have to get it done, and do it in love without condition. No matter what, you can take care of your babies. I have 3. My son is actually about to graduate high school at the end of this month, May the 31st. He's 18, so he'll be graduating. Then I have a son who is also a junior. And so next year is his, it just hit me with the senior years, but I think we did that. We did the back-to-back. And so, and got a little space in between the 2 boys. And my daughter is 10, so she will be in the 5th grade this upcoming school year. So she's coming out of 4th grade, a rising 5th grader. And they are wonderful children, intelligent, don't give me many problems. And I hope that I've set a great example, just as my parents and my grandparents did for me, and that they will carry that on, find out who they are in life and continue to discover that. My daughter actually authored my second book with me. We co-authored it together. And so she became an author when she was 5 and she's now 10. And great kids, very creative, artistic. and have many talents. My son has a clothing brand called Risk Takers. Y'all got to go check it out. Go to Instagram and look up Risk Takers. Yeah, and so you'll see that. And it's trying to get marketed to some college campuses right now. So we'll see how that goes.
I'm going to try to make this as clear as possible for a question, but in the midst of you in high school and figuring out what you wanted to do in terms of where you wanted to go to college and maybe what you wanted to major in, was that a hard process or transition for you to figure out what you wanted to do post high school, or maybe was it an easy transition? What was the opportunity in picking for college like for you, and maybe what was the transition like?
Choosing a college was easy for me because my mother, when I was younger, was a student at Tougaloo College. So she was in college and raising me at the same time as a young girl. And so I would go to campus with her often, and even on the weekends, sometimes just for an outing. We would drive up there and, get out and walk the yard, and she would introduce me to different people, professors who may be out and about, students that were her classmates and all of that. And so I always wanted to go there to Tougaloo College because my mother, went to Tougaloo College. And so that was already set, like in stone. I already had my mind made up that is what I was going to do. My mom at the time, work just took over. She's entrepreneur, self-employed, business owner. And so she kind of pushed the rest of her college education over to the side because she was thriving in business, traveling the country and working in community service, but on a higher level, on a governmental level, and even sometimes a grassroots level. And she came to me in my senior year at Tougaloo and sat down with me, and she was just like, I want to finish, and she was like, would you be embarrassed if I got readmitted and came back to college? And I was like, no, I've always wanted you to finish. Right. And so we went to the library, to Coleman Library, actually, Elzenovia Coleman Library on the campus of Tougaloo College. And we pulled the course catalog for the year that she entered into college, which was in the 80s. Which means this is her Bible, right? This is what they have to go by as far as requirements for her graduation. She doesn't have to meet the same standards as me because I come in 2001. She was there in the 80s. And so we pulled the course catalog and we pulled her transcripts. And I sat there in the library and reviewed them. This is what her advisors were supposed to do now. No shade to the advisors, but every time she took classes, they had her taking things that she really didn't need. I mean, she had so many more many more credits, much more credits than she really, really needed. That's one thing that I saw. But then the other thing that I saw is I said, all you need is 2 classes. All you need is 2 classes. So you graduate. Now you go and confirm that, and make sure that that's correct. And it was correct. And she enrolled in those 2 classes, and we actually graduated together. Yep. And so my department walked first. So I was the first to cross, and then we graduated together. Moving on past Tougaloo, I had some trials when I was at Tougaloo. I was in a car accident. So now going back into the music, I started out as a secular rapper, right? I wasn't always gospel rap. Started out as a secular rapper. My boyfriend and I at the time, who became my husband, years later, but we were a part of this group. And when I first met him, they had music out and everything. And then they heard me rapping like some poetry or whatever that I had written when I was in high school. I was on the back seat, we were just riding or whatever around Jackson. And they heard my voice and they were just like, hey, you ought to join the group, And so I joined the group. Next thing you know, we're recording, we're in the studios, going around doing different things, and which was a learning experience for me. And then, not long after that, we were in a car accident and on the backseat again, and I got hurt really bad. I had a severe traumatic brain injury and spinal cord injury. So, I've done some time in the UMMC over there in the intensive care unit over there. But I was hurt really badly during that time, and God healed me. He restored me, and I haven't missed a beat co-creating with God. And so I was unsure of my full capability at the time when I graduated, because it was not long after I had had the car accident. I had it in my junior year on an Easter Sunday. And, coming off of that and then going into the senior year, I had some challenges, right? And so just rewiring brain, being an avid reader and then looking at the words on the pages and just like, I don't remember the last sentence that I just read, but I have to be able to do this work because I have to finish. And I was determined to finish no matter what. It's a good thing I had taken a lot of the required courses already, so I could take like electives, art classes, music classes, things like that. So that kind of gave me a break, but we triumphed. I overcame that, moved past that. A little bit after that, I went directly from graduating college. And then I started working with my mom at the nonprofit. We were just founding it, just building it. It was around youth entrepreneurship, financial literacy, things of that nature. And I was just unsure of what else I wanted to do with my career. And so I decided to, just kind of play it safe and just work. And then an opportunity came to me from the University of Southern Mississippi to have a full scholarship, everything, they pay for everything, laptops, all of that good stuff for my master's in library and information science. And so I decided to take it up. And everything that I thought that I couldn't do or wouldn't be able to do on that level, I superseded, excelled, with all of that. I graduated with a 3.92 GPA from that program. And, years after that, just working and all of that, family and everything, still pursuing my talents, my gifts and everything. Of course, I stopped the secular rap after I had the car accident. So it was 9 years and God called me into ministry, told me that I could still rap. And just, and that he was going to send me out to the nations to spread the gospel, through rap music. Thought it was the devil that was talking to me, telling me to do it at first. And then I was like, okay, well, God says to go spread the gospel through it, and that's what I have to do. And so that's what I did. And just this past year, I obtained a doctorate in Christian leadership and business. So yeah, I think I'm done with school for a little while. I got certificates in public health and biostatistics and all of that stuff. So yeah, I think I'm done with the school career for a while.
I had a conversation on my last episode with Kane Davis, who was a football player at Ole Miss, and it was probably one of the few conversations that I've had with him, which is openly and non-caringly about his relationship with God, his religion, and his just true love with God. You've talked about it a little bit throughout your last mention, but how did keeping faith in the midst of a car accident, in the midst of so much going on in your life, even before that as well, how did keeping faith continue to just allow you to push forward and allow you to keep going, even when you felt like, why should I, or maybe how could I?
Faith is definitely a factor, right? You have to have hope in order to have faith. And so, I'm glad that I always had, strong family support around me, because they never let me know that I was injured or that I was hurt or that anything was different. So I never knew anything different because my environment was not conducive to a disability or, me being any other way than the way God created me to be, And so, I've always had a close relationship with God because I've dealing with, like I said, without spilling everybody's beans everywhere in business, I've seen some stuff, some traumatic things growing up. And I just knew that it had to be a higher power. And I never knew in the midst of those situations what the outcome may be. But I always had something deep down on the inside in my soul, just deep down on the inside, that connection with God where I felt like I'm going to be okay. Everything is going to be all right. And so in coming out of those situations, and when more situations arise, you have to remember what God did before and how he brought you through that and brought you through another thing. Right. And so I think that helps to give him some credibility in the spirit, helps to build your faith that if he did it then, he can do it again. He will do it again. And when something else comes, he'll make that storm be still as well. And so I stay close to God, stay connected with God. I have to stay in alignment with God at all times. It's just the way I walk. Some people can go out and be as reckless as they want to be. I don't think that I would have that chance, and so I have to try to stay in alignment as much as possible. But faith is definitely something that I think that we have to build over time. And it's going to be tried. It's going to be tested. And you just have to keep believing in the one who created it all, and knowing that he did it with good thoughts and with your best interest in mind.
Thank you for sharing that, because I know my mom and grandma will be watching and they'll love to hear that, but it's not easy to share that. And as well, it's not easy to remain faithful in the midst of a lot of dark times. And for those that may be facing that challenge, I hope you take what she just said, Miss Tiffany just said, and essentially find some way to keep that faith and keep moving in your life, because this is what we do it for. To maybe you're going through something and you need to hear from someone else, or maybe how to get through it from someone else. So I appreciate you so much, Miss Tiffany, for sharing that. You talked about you're kind of like, not wouldn't say you're kind of just off rhythm start for your music career, and you really kind of didn't really expect it to kind of get going where it got. But essentially, when you got started with your little group that you talked about for music, did you expect you to be here where you are today within your music career, your achievements, your awards, your recipient awards that you've got for it? Did you expect to be here? And as well, in the midst of all of it, how does it feel to be sharing the word of God in your way, in the way that you love to do it?
It's the best feeling in the world, because that's something that I can be proud of. Not prideful, but I can be proud of it, because it's positivity. It's a faith builder. It's encouragement. It's tying people and drawing people back to God, helping to win over souls and bring salvation, deliverance, healing. You know what I mean? Restoration. And I think that's important when we don't despise small beginnings, and we should not. But when we get to a certain level where there's a certain level of power or influence, I think that comes with a certain level of responsibility and accountability to that. Having integrity, having character, is definitely important. And so I believe that you asked about me having, hold on one second. Those are the kids that are talking while, I'm doing the interview. Anyway, the two boys. And so you asked about, now I lost my train of thought. You asked about Dakari. You asked about something. Yeah, but what did you ask?
I asked just kind of what was how did you think when you started it?
When I started, that's right. I got you now. We're back on. We're tracking again now. So when I started it, I think I would have, all of this would come. I remember going into the studios when I first started out, and they would have all of these plaques and different accolades on the wall. And I would see just different folks there, people who have recorded in the studio and left their autographs there and all of that. And I thought, I'll never be on one of these flags, or, that's going to take some work, or you got to do something, really major, really big. And I just didn't know if that time would ever come. I just knew it was going to take a lot of work, and it may be a long time before it happened. I think consistency is key, and never giving up, tenacity, perseverance and pushing through, no matter what happens, will definitely get you there. And those are my keys right there. Did I think I would, all of this would manifest? I believed. I saw it. I had the vision for it. So I had to have some sort of a belief that it was there, because I could see it, right? But faith without works is what? It's dead. And so I had to put the work in, marry it with my faith. And then now when I go into some of those same studios that I record in, my plaques are on the wall. They're on the wall in some studios that I've never set foot in before. some radio stations that I've never stepped into at all in my life. And so, people send me videos, pictures, and things of that nature. I'm appreciative for that support, for their participation, for their contribution, for their willingness, for their yes to, to the things that God had called me to. And so now, I can see what I saw. I can see it in person, the things that I saw in spirit. I see it physically now, and I know that God is faithful. I know He's real, and So this is all, it's all great. It's good. Now I don't idolize any of this stuff, but it's definitely like a pat on the back from God saying, good job, keep going. I showed you these things, not because it was about the things, but there are some manifestations that happen along the way. There's some glory that comes out along the way. And to be able to just spread, like I said, the gospel while doing it and uplift God in His name, I think that it's, for me, a better legacy to leave in a more fulfilling, career, better for my soul and for the world than it would have been if I had, actually made some noise as a secular artist, I would say.
I want to ask you, and you probably won't even mean to give advice with your answer with this, but you probably end up well. I think being a mother enough is just like a full-time job, but you're a mother, a wife, a daughter, you're a recording artist, you're an author, you're an actor. You do so much. How do you stay not overwhelmed? How do you continue to make your schedule in a balanced manner that not only that you're doing things to continue changing the lives of people, but also making sure you're okay and you're taking care of yourself as well?
Yeah. Stay organized and prioritize. You have to stay on top of it. You saw how fast I responded to you when you requested the interview, and I operate the same way in other areas of my business. Other people have come and requested interviews. They already have the confirmations. Like, you have to stay on top of it. Find time. Check your screen time and see how long you've been on certain apps all day long, all week long. Look at the monthly aggregation of it all. You have time. You just like to spend time. We like to spend time. I'm just talking to you. I'm talking to you in general, but I mean me as well. We just like to do what we want to do, what's comfortable. And there's so many distractions. And so you have to focus, you have to prioritize, stay organized, take care of home and take care of family first. Once you get them out of the way and is well within your soul and your heart is satisfied and all hearts are satisfied, can't please everybody all the time and give them everything they want. But as long as you know you have met the need and the duties and the requirements that it takes, to be a parent, to be a spouse or what have you, you can go off into the world and do whatever else it is that you need to do with a clear mind. And that's going to help to motivate you because you've already gotten this part done. It's taken care of. Now you can go out and take care of the business and take care of you, I want to say, don't put yourself last as well. Your health is important. Your mental well-being is important. Your emotions, all of that. Everything is important. Every morning now, Dalen, I have been walking 30 to 45 minutes. If I don't get it in the mornings, I do it in the evenings. Sometimes I have a little rebounder trampoline in my room. If I'm not able to walk, at the gym or in my neighborhood, then I get on that rebounder and I have my Apple Watch on it. It's tracking my steps. It's tracking the mileage. It's tracking the time, my heart rate, all of that stuff. It's important now because I even started to feel the effects of all of the work that I've done over the years and just, the wear and tear that it will put on you physically. And so you have to be mindful of that, making sure that you are getting your checkups and your annual wellness appointments and, taking care of yourself so that you can be the best version of you as possible for you and for your family, to be able to be the best mother, the spouse, and, what have you. And definitely if you're going to be adding some extra stuff like a business or two onto your plate, optimal health and wellness is definitely key to being able to push through. So staying organized, prioritize, and staying focused, fight the distractions and the fears. Let's not forget about that. because a lot of people don't pursue things that they're passionate about because they're afraid or it makes them uncomfortable, or they feel like they don't have the support. As much as I have, I don't want to say boasted, but discussed how much my family supported me in certain areas at certain times and certain things, there were times where I felt alone in certain, pursuits. And I still had to encourage myself. I had to keep going, because God gave this assignment to me. So when you had exams this week, you took your test, did you take it with somebody or did you take it alone? You took it by yourself. You had to study for it, maybe with a group or something like that. But when it came down to taking the exam, it was just you and the paper and the pen. And so same thing with me and the things God has called me to. I don't make my kids go to every event that I have. I offer if they want to come, they can. But I definitely wouldn't make my career be an obligation for them. Right. So I say all that to say, you can incorporate things into your schedule and find the time if you will make the time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for your honesty with that, because unfortunately it may hit some people where they don't want it to hit them at, but that's what we need sometimes. So thank you for saying that. It means a lot to me. I'm very intrigued with your answer for this question because I'm a music lover in myself. So I would love to know that you now growing up, any time in your life, who are some of your favorite music artists, some of your favorite songs? Even if you have different genres, what are some of your go-to music playlists and songs that you listen to?
There's a mix. You're gonna always hear me say Whitney Houston is my favorite every, thing. Anything that comes to singing, I Will Always Love You, all of that, all of the Whitney stuff. You're gonna hear me say that in whatever interview they ask. You will never hear me say another singer is my favorite singer except for the Whitney Elizabeth Houston, right? Music that I listen to. So rap, of course, R&B, country. I love country music. Some pop songs. My mom, it came to a point of when I was younger, sometimes we had to turn the JMIs and the FMs off. I mean, the hip hop side of it. And we could listen to was like pop and country. And I was mad at it, but I wasn't mad at it because those were some great songs. Mm-hmm. So Elton John, Garth Brooks, Mark Cohn, Tracy Chapman. Come on, what you know about that Casey Kasem lineup, that Casey Kasem mix, that smooth voice, rest his soul. But yeah, so I had a variety of sounds and lyricism that I was able to hear in versions of songs and in different genres and being exposed to that. And we traveled quite a bit as well. And so I got a chance to experience these different cultures and people and see how they lived. And, music has been very important, but I definitely have been influenced by Queen Latifah, MC Lyte, all of the old school. I'm going to call old schools, like nothing old about them because they still are very much so relevant to this day. These music moguls, these ladies, Missy Elliott, all of them, very inspirational. Like, I think I don't want to say this why God gave me the talents, right? And He'll give some couple and give some more than a couple because they'll use them. But I see what they're doing now. They're not just female rappers or MCs, spitting on some tracks. They are moguls. They have businesses. They have brand, their whole brand. They produce, they direct, they're into movies and filming and all of that stuff now. Some of them are even producing tracks and making, music on the other side and not just being the artist. So I can respect all of that, and say that I believe, though, looking at them from afar and just seeing the work that they've done, it helps me to continue to push and believe and make the transitions that I need to make in my career at certain points as well. And knowing that I don't have to stop everything I'm doing when I decide that I will no longer be performing as much, as I have in the past. But there's other avenues, executive positions that I can pursue in music and in entertainment, directing, producing, which I have been doing some of that behind the scenes as well. with various videos and films. So, yeah, hope I answered your question. I know I'm getting off on a little tangent.
You did. No, I love that, and I love the diversity within it. People know watching that I love country music, so I love when people shout it out, which is very rare, but I love when people do shout it out. I want to ask you something specifically. What inspired you to become an author? And I know you've written a manifestation book, but you've written two children's books as well. What inspired you to do that, and how did you end up getting your daughter involved in that as well? What was the implications for her getting involved with that?
Yeah. So just not to repeat the whole story, but I was inspired by the excitement from my first grade teacher when she gave us the assignment to write a book of our own and put it together. And decided at that point I wanted to be a children's author and write books for children. 27 years later, it happened. So I had the vision and had the dream when I was 7. Seed was planted at 7. I was 34 years old when I published my first children's book, which is entitled Hippos Downtown. And it takes place downtown Jackson, and the hippos leave the Jackson Zoo, and then they go to various attractions in and around downtown Jackson. Even the Mississippi State Fair, they're going to, eat deep fried pickles and all that kind of stuff. So the kids really, really love it because it's adventurous, it's explorative, it keeps you intrigued and it builds suspense and you trying to figure out what they're going to do next. So that one has definitely been a staple and a household favorite for many, many years. I'll actually be promoting that this weekend at the Sister Strut Walk, which is a breast cancer awareness walk that iHeartRadio began 2 years ago. And so I'll be performing there and, of course, promoting literacy in my books and music and all of that as well. I wanted my children, when they were growing up, to be exposed to different things, and I didn't want them to ever feel limited by the environment, the stereotypes that transcend culture, where we come from and all of that. I decided to just expose them to different things. And so after I read my first book, it was easy for me to write the next one. And I knew that, I had a process that worked for me. And so why not, show this to my daughter? And even though she was 5, sit down with her, let her create a story of her own. We work on it together. And, instead of me publishing alone, or her publishing alone, we'll just do it together, and later on in life, if she wants to pick that back up again and publish on her own, then that will be something, that she has been exposed to and she can do. So along the way, they have had the chance to participate in certain things to figure out early on if they actually like these things or not. And I think that would help them to make better career decisions moving forward. And so that was how I pulled her in to become co-author for My Dolly and Me. Manifestation Journal. My daughter was actually doing an interview with my friend, Erica, whose son plays for the Miami Dolphins. And Mariah did really well on her interview. And while she was in the interview, some of the people who were engaging and listening to the interview started putting out offers and invitations for her to come to their city to upcoming author events that they had, right? For her to come and talk about her book and promote the book or whatever. So they were inviting us over. It was Jacksonville, Florida, Atlanta, Georgia. I think it was maybe Miami, Florida was there as well. A couple places, couple women that were doing some events were inviting Mariah to come. And I just, said a hashtag Girl God is in the details, and hopped in my spirit, just that fast. And I was like, you know what? That's the name of the Manifestation Journal. And so in the Manifestation Journal, I'm describing my experience very briefly in the preface. I'm describing my journey about how, I was trying to figure out how to become an author, and how I went over to YouTube and watched videos, and I researched and Googled and, put together this whole plan until I found a process that worked for me. And so I did that to inspire others, but it all started with me writing it down first, writing the vision, making it plain, and then working on it, taking small steps until I could finish. And so I described that process as well. And, I've had people who have purchased, who have written down their visions. And then, 2 or 3 days later, after they've written it down, they're sending me messages and saying, hey, this already happened, like it's coming to pass. Like, it's amazing and it's a real thing, so that's a contract between you and God. Once you write it down, the Bible says, write the vision, make it plain. You do what he says in the word, you write the vision, you make it plain, then that commands him. That's a demand. That's pulling on that word. It's pulling on the Spirit of God to enact and to do what you wrote, right? And you don't do the work. You the hands, you the feet, you the eyes, you the ears, you the mouthpiece in the earth. That's going to do that work. But together with God, you co-creating. And so it definitely is going to happen. Everything that I've written down has happened. I've got some other stuff I need to write down. Let me go grab a journal out of the trunk of my vehicle and start back writing.
Miss Tiffany, if you could have dinner with 5 people, dead or alive, who would they be and why?
Well, my grandmother definitely going to be at the head of the table.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Is Jesus included in this Last Supper?
Yes,
the first supper. This will be a first supper because if dead and alive going to be there, this is a wild dinner. I'll tell you that. Well, God and Jesus is they everywhere, but if I have to choose and name names, all right. I would, my great grandmother would be there. So my grandmother and her mother would be there. And I would actually have my friend who was my producer of my first album. He passed away from COVID 2 years ago in 2000. It was almost 3 years. In August, it'll be 3 years. He passed away from COVID. He produced my first album. We were good friends since the 6th grade. And I crossed paths with him after God had called me into the ministry of hip hop. And I had no producer. Nobody understood what I was trying to do and how I was trying to marry my lyrics to a certain sound. Nobody understood it. And he gave me a chance. He took a chance. He's produced for so many of the big artists, Jamie Foxx, Tashina Arnold, Bun B, all kinds of people. His music is licensed on like shows like the reality shows that come out of Atlanta, I don't want to start dropping names of different shows and stuff or whatever, but he was very much so behind the scenes, kind of out of the way guy, but very, very important to the work of so many people. And he knows, of course, about all of the stuff that I had going and how it was because of that first album that we released that really set me off and really put me out there. I recorded the video and then, of course, they helped to pick some traction up as well. I would have him at the table because he needs to see, some of the things that have happened post, humans, like since he's passed away. That's 3. Well, we might as well have Whitney to come to the dinner. Oh my God. I can't believe you asked me this question. We might as well have Whitney to do us a number or 2 at the dinner, right? So she needs to be here. And,
I'm here for it. Yes, ma'am.
You here for it. And I'm going to say Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. will be at the dinner as well. We might as well have the dignitaries there. He needs to see, what has come of his dream. So I give him a chance to, to do that.
I love that. Thank you. I love that because those 5 answers are always different, but they're always a depiction of who people are. So I love to hear those answers. And I love all the shouts, to be honest, because I'm a family person. I love Whitney and Martin Luther King myself as well. So I love that.
I ain't gonna lie, but if they showed up at the dinner table, baby, I'll be down 55. I'm running.
We're having a little bit of Southern conversation. People don't mind us.
That's right. Let's bring it up. Get it back, people.
Talk about your acting career. You've been on some very notorious shows, and you talked about earlier, you were in the works of an independent film right now as well. How'd you get into acting, and how much of a love do you have for it as well?
Okay. It's one of my favorite passions. I love it a lot. I come alive when I'm on set, and I never get tired. I really don't. And set, you could be doing one scene for 12 to 14 hours, just one scene, not a whole episode, but just one scene, 12 to 14 hours. They may show that scene for 3 seconds, 4 seconds, or it might be 15 seconds. But you've been in there for 14 hours doing the same thing over and over again, stopping and resetting. But for some reason, I never get tired. I feel alive there. It's like, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is my office. And so I really, really, truly enjoy acting. I love acting. How I got started. So I went to Atlanta to film my music video for I Ain't Preaching to the Choir, which was my first single from my first album. My makeup artist thought I had some nice features, asked me if I would model for her makeup company. She was having a campaign that same weekend that I was there shooting the video. So I said, yes, I did it. And she really started the gift because my mom used to have me, doing some modeling stuff when I was younger. And I got kind of tired of it, because we did it a whole lot. And so I just stopped, doing it. Well, Gabby stirred the gift, she stirred it back up. When I got back home to Jackson, I started releasing, my new image and everything. And so photographers and different boutiques started to reach out to me, wanting to collaborate, wanting to get together and work. And so that's what I did. And while I was shooting with one of the photographers in downtown Jackson, he said the same thing. She said, nice features. He thought I would look great on film. Have you ever thought about acting? Of course I have. I always thought, since I was a child that I would have, my hand in Hollywood in some type of way or in film, some type of way. But I just never knew when it would happen. I always thought and I always wanted to, and I still do. I do want to live in California. My husband actually grew up in California. And so, that's where he's from. And we visited back a couple times and everything. And so that's definitely something that may be on the checklist at some point. But I would say it was because of the photographers, recognition of where I was trying to go and the things that I had done. I think that really set it off. And so I started making different submissions or what have you. And I made it one day. And the very next day, I got a call while I was driving in the car with my mom. We were working. And I got a call from a casting agency out of New Orleans wanting to cast me for Queen Sugar. And so I drove down to New Orleans. We did it, called back the next week. I had to go back again the next week, do another episode, another scene for another episode. And that's how it got started. Along the way, someone at the Dr. Bobby Jones Gospel Show saw my video online, gave me a phone call. Hey, we've never had a female gospel rapper on the show before, and we want to invite you to be the first. Would you be interested in coming to Nashville to film with us? I say yes. We drive up to Nashville. Next thing you know, I'm standing there with Dr. Bobby Jones, who I always wanted to be on his show when he was on BET when I was growing up, even though I wasn't a gospel artist at that time. So how you gonna want to be on the Bobby Jones gospel show and you ain't even a gospel artist at the time? But it was a desire in my heart. And I guess because my spirit knew, but I didn't know at the time. My spirit knew that one day that would actually happen and I would, evolve into who I am now. And so that was a great experience. Just kept putting my stuff out there, getting that exposure. Then I get a call from the owner of a casting agency in Chicago. And this stuff was just manifesting on its own, but I wrote it down first, right? These are things that I wrote. Get a call from a casting agency owner in Chicago. And, it was for Empire. And crazy story about that. I'm going to make it real short because we'll have to end kind of in a little bit because I got to pick Mariah up from daycare, mother duties. The after school program. And so crazy story about Empire. When Empire first came out, my mom called me and it was when I just started Christian rap. She called me and she said, there's this new show on Fox. It's starring Terrence Howard, Taraji P. Henson. I think you should watch it. It will help you out with your music career. I'm like, oh, okay. Didn't watch a whole lot of TV anyway. I was always reading a book. And so she called me back the next week when the second episode came on. Same thing the third week. Third week episode came on. She called, asked me how to watch the show. I still had not watched the show. And so I decided that Saturday, I'm going to binge watch. I'm going to watch the show. I did. I watched all 3 episodes back to back, Fox On Demand or Fox Demand or whatever it's called. I watched all the episodes, fell in love with the storyline season 1. I called her on the phone and I remember standing up in my room and we were talking about it like we just talking about the soaps, soap operas and what was happening, in those 3 episodes. And I said, I'm going to be on there one day. And she was like, oh, yeah, if you believe God can do the impossible, he can, he had a faith for it. God can do the impossible. And she was like, I believe he did. I said, I just had an open vision. I saw myself on the stage with Terrence and Taraji. And so I have these dreams and these visions, right? And they intensified after the brain injury from the car accident. But I was like that before when I was a kid. Have these dreams and have these visions, things would happen. They would happen. And so that was 2 years. That season 1 was in 2015, right? Almost 10 years ago. Wow, we're still talking about it, but it's a beautiful story. And 2 years later, I got that call from the owner of the casting agency for Empire. And she said that the directors had saw some glam shots or photos of me. They wanted to see pictures of me with, just strip down everything, no lashes, no makeup, no none of that stuff. Send us those photos and I'll let you know what they say. I did, send it to her, what have you. And next thing you know, she called back and sent the email, you're booked. And it happened just like that. And so when I got there, the first episode or the first scene that I was in, Terrence and Taraji weren't in that particular scene. It was me, the other baby. I played one of Shine's baby's mamas. The other baby mama was there, who so happened to be the sister-in-law of the armor bearer for the church that I started my Christian hip hop ministry in. We're all the way in Illinois, right? And the other person who was casted to be the opposite baby mama that's sitting on the porch with me, her brother-in-law is the armor bearer for the pastor of the church that I started the Christian hip hop ministry in. Wild. So you're in the right place at the right time with the right people, right? So we're in that scene with Exhibit, the rapper Exhibit, and Brashear Gray, of course. Hakeem, he played the character Hakeem. And the kids are in the yard and they're playing and all of that, right? Little Faith would have probably said, hey, well, I guess I just had a vision of Terrence and Taraji, and they're not here today. They're not in this scene. And I guess I was just seeing myself on the show. Well, I'm here, and she says, well, what are you going to do if they call us back again? I said, well, I have to come back because they showed my face already, and so I have to come back. She said, well, if they call us back, she said, you don't worry about getting a hotel, Ubering and all that stuff. You can stay with me and you can drive to sit with me or whatever. We'll just work it like that. I'm like, okay, cool. Boom. Because listen, who makes a connection like that? How is the armor bearers? Okay. Yeah. A couple months later, they sent an email, call and say, we need you back. And so I had to fly back up to Chicago. Even though this show was set in New York, it was actually filmed downtown Chicago in the warehouse too. And so then we went to, I went up to Chicago and she kept her word, she picked me up, whatever, stayed with her. We drove the set together and all of that. And that was the scene. That was the vision that I had. So I saw the end, right? And we were in Club Leviticus, memorializing Shine, Exhibit's character, because he had gotten killed off of the show. And we were standing there and Terrence and Taraji was right there. Just like I saw, I said, I was standing on the stage with Terrence and Taraji. And that's exactly what we were doing in Club Leviticus. Standing on the stage with Terrence and Taraji was sitting, but Terrence was standing, giving his speech and, doing his spiel and everything. And it was crazy. So many more details to that I could share, but for the sake of time, I'm kind of cutting it. But yeah, that's how I got started. And that has inspired me to keep going to see what else God has in store.
I know we have to go, but just one more question that I always have to ask. You've kind of talked about a lot of it, but what's one piece of advice about life in general that you would give to people watching and listening? And as well, I'm very big on legacy and just making sure I'm doing the steps that I am leaving, the legacy that I want to leave behind. When people hear your name, what legacy do you want to always leave behind? What do you want people to always remember about you?
In regard to life, I would just say take it day by day, one step at a time. And don't be hard on yourself. Don't be hard on yourself. Give yourself some grace. We forgive other people. Forgive yourself. You've done some things. We forgive others for the things that they do to us or, to others that we love. In society, everybody deserves a second chance. And I would say that you should even, release that to yourself, a second chance. Give yourself some grace. Don't be too hard on yourself. Stop beating yourself up. That negative self-talk is poisonous, it's toxic, and it happens to all of us. We do it. I mean, I think it's a part of human nature. That's where our faith kicks in. That's where our belief in the word of God kicks in. And we have to shift and transform our minds to the mind of Christ and believing that instead of what the enemy is trying to tell us. So that's what I would say. And I think that can carry you through a lifetime. Don't beat yourself up and don't be too hard on yourself. Forgive yourself, give yourself some grace, and show that same grace and forgiveness towards others as well. I would hope in leaving legacy that people would remember or will remember me as someone who never gave up, who worked hard, who trusted and believed in a vision that was a God-given vision, and serving it as a role model, as an example. I don't even call myself a role model. Served as an example that faith works, and consistency, persistence. I just believe that people will believe that see or acknowledge that I worked hard and I did a lot. I used all of my gifts and I never gave up. And I hope that will leave some inspiration and hope for them to do the same thing. Right? I hope that they remember that I did it, for the glory of God, to the glory of God. And that's important as well. Yep. That's it.
Miss Tiffany, I want to say thank you. I'm so glad that I coincidentally ran into your social media, and I'm glad that I was able to reach out to you and that you reached back out and we were able to do this. I have myself learned a lot, so I hope people watching and listening have learned a lot, but I've laughed a lot, and I've also written down a lot of your words of wisdom and hope to use them in my life. So thank you so much. I really can't express that enough.
Thank you. Thank you for reaching out. I asked you off camera if you're related to Michael Flowers out of New York, one of my good friends. But
if I am, I'm not aware of it.
Maybe not. Yeah, everybody has ties and roots to Mississippi. Are you from here originally?
I'm from Arkansas originally. I just go to school in Mississippi. Yes, ma'am.
Gotcha. Little Rock or Pine Bluff? Little Rock.
Yes.
So my family is there. Yeah, we'll talk about it off camera.
Yes,
camera. Yeah, the Mitchells, the Hawkins, some Thomases. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Anyway. Thank you for reaching out. Thank you for inviting me. Of course.
And thank you for being on. It's meant a lot. And I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. Can you believe that we're 10 episodes in, halfway through season 4? I can't believe it because I'm not really like to think about it a lot because every day we go by it means I'm closer to being done, but I'm loving it so much. So thank you guys for your support. Continue to, like Miss Tiffany said, take life one day at a time, enjoy it all, and God bless to you all. Much love, everyone.